Hey everyone, so welcome to our pitch workshop by Astawa. He's also one of our judges, so we're just going to give you a few minutes to hop in. We'll wait, so I think we'll give everyone around 3 more minutes to get into the workshop. This is going to be really interesting. Astawa is also judging the high school division tomorrow, so at the end he has a few minutes for questions. If anyone has any judging questions or anything about the workshop, feel free to ask then, or you can ask throughout his workshop in the chat, and we'll see if we have time to answer them. I know I'm pretty excited for this workshop. How are you feeling, Astawa?
I'm excited, man. I'm super happy. I'm getting back to normal. Like my haircut is done. Barbershops are back open. Gyms are back open too. So I'm good. Great headspace, and I'm excited to do this workshop today. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna break down some of the old myths and boring ways of pitching before too. This is not gonna be like a high school presentation in that one class that you hate. This is gonna be how to actually keep people awake, keep them engaged, and win too. So for anyone who's here early, like Mayhak mentioned, I am a judge, so you're getting secret insights right now. So if I'm grading your project tomorrow, you know exactly what I'm looking for as well. So take notes, tell your friends to come join us as well. I'm gonna give you all the secrets.
This is top secret, top special workshop. It's awesome to see we already have 29 participants.
Awesome.
Komal, are you excited for Astawa's workshop? I know I am.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So Astawa's been involved in the past Spark event too. So Spark Hackathon back in 2019. He was also a judge. And I think Astawa also did a workshop back then. So it's excited to see him come back, and we're really excited to learn more about pitching and just what he's going to be covering during this workshop.
Awesome. Is everyone, so if you guys are on the Zoom desktop app, if you have the reactions button at the bottom right of your screen, tap that and give me a thumbs up if you have that, so I know who has it and who doesn't. All right, I see Prisha, Nikhil, Anahat. Awesome, lots of you guys. Sick. So as I'm going and as I'm asking questions to you guys and trying to get your feedback, give me a thumbs up or give me a clap if you like what you're hearing. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat box on the right as well. Introduce yourself too. If you want to talk about what you're working on, if you have specific questions, drop them all there. I do have time at the end of the workshop to answer any specific questions too. So it'll be nice to have a good queue going on in that chat box there. Sound good? All right. So we're 2 minutes into it. So for everyone who's already here, let's thank you so much for coming in. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. We'll kick things off. So let me share my screen. Classic, Zoom etiquette. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Awesome. All right, welcome to Pitching to Win, how to pitch to humans and how to not be boring while you're pitching. We see this a lot, especially in your classrooms too, when your teacher's up there or when your classmates are up there giving a presentation. It's just dry, they're reading off facts, and it can get really boring really fast. And we're going to show you how to do the exact opposite today. So what you can expect from today's workshop is a breakdown of what boring pitches look like and how to avoid them, how to pitch with storytelling, so how to get people engaged in what you're pitching, make them feel like they're a part of the story, what the hero's journey looks like and what that is. We're going to go into 2 case studies so you have examples of what all this stuff looks like in action. And I'm going to go over some common mistakes and, of course, questions at the end. All right, let's dive into it. So before we get into all this, I know some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't know me. And for anyone who's wondering who the heck I am and why I'm qualified to talk on this at all, I think it'd be nice to start off with the 2 truths and a lie. So let me open up the chat box again. Let me know in the chat box, which one of these do you think is my lie? So let me read them out for you. Number 1, I was born in Thailand. Number 2, I like cats. And number 3, I've gone viral on TikTok. Drop it in the chat. Let me know which one you think is a lie. Born in Thailand, cats. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of cats. TikTok. You guys don't think I can go famous on TikTok? Number 1, okay. Anyone else? All right. So my 2 truths, let's do a little problem. My 2 truths are that I was born in Thailand, fun fact. I'm from Bangladesh, but my dad worked for Biman Airlines, which is the airline in Bangladesh. He was one of the top execs, director of finance. So he would travel around a lot. When he was in in Thailand with my mom, they were there for work. That's when I happened to pop out. So I was, in fact, born in Thailand. I'm unfortunately not a Thai citizen, though. I don't speak the language. You got to be there for like 10 years, I think, and speak the language fluently to get a passport to say that you're Thai. So unfortunately, not a Thai resident. I actually don't like cats. I'm more of a dog person. I love dogs. I love how outgoing they are. They're super energetic. They love you unconditionally. But cats only love you when they want something. And that's not something I can get behind. Viral on TikTok. I actually have gone viral on TikTok. So I've been on TikTok since December, and it's just me been, scrolling on the FYP, trying to learn these dances and all that. But in the past 2 weeks, I started like creating a lot of marketing content around web design, WordPress, Webflow, SEO, and I've gotten 100,000 views on TikTok, and it's been pretty insane to see how that platform's grown. So yeah, fun fact. And beyond that, I do work at the City of Brampton in economic development in the innovation tech sector. So my job is, as the innovation tech coordinator, I work with organizations like Spark to help them do a ton of more of these events in Brampton to bring you guys out and start making cool things. I also work with some of our top companies like Rogers, MDA, and help them grow in Brampton. So fun fact, MDA, they built the Canada Space Arm. So a space arm that's on the International Space Station in space, that was built in Brampton. So we help companies like that grow, but we also help startups begin their journey here and keep growing in the future too. So we have spaces like the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, the Innovation District, which I'll mention later on too. And I also run a company outside of the city called DXM Creative. So I've been running this company for about 6 years now, and we do web design, digital marketing. We've got clients like York University, we've got clients like international nonprofits and award-winning entrepreneurs. And these two parts of my life kind of give me a good lens at pitching, because at the City of Brampton, I hear a lot of pitches from different startups and different companies, and at DXM, I'm the one doing a lot of pitching. So I've got a cool kind of perspective on what works, what doesn't work, and also as a judge, I kind of know what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. So what does a boring pitch look like? I've heard a lot of these pitches, and again, they kind of go through this bullet list of what you do, what this is, et cetera, et cetera. And they can be kind of summarized as the FAB framework. So features, advantage, and benefits, FAB. So these pitches kind of look like people who go through something like this. My product can do this. It does A, B, C, D, E, F, D. It's good for you because that. That's kind of boring, and it kind of puts your product into a kind of T-shaped list of just features, advantages, and benefits. And when you do that, this bullet list, it becomes a lot easier for me as a judge, for other people who are listening, maybe investors in the future. It becomes very easy for them to compare your feature list to another competitor's features list. And that completely removes all the passion and essence of what you're building. There's no story in there. And it's important to remember that when people are listening to your pitch, they're not listening and buying off of a feature list. They're buying off of stories. So that's why storytelling is so important. Storytelling helps them imagine, what does your product look like in the day in the life of a user? If I'm using your app on my phone, when would I use it? What problem am I going through in my life that's going to make me pull up my phone and actually go on your app and use it? What does my life look after I use your app? Building a story around what you're building helps create use cases that helps an investor or a judge understand how your app works and what stand out. So here's how you can build an effective story. There's a model called the Pixar pitch, which is from Pixar movies. So movies like WALL-E, they all use this 6-sentence structure. It's pretty simple, and it looks like this. Once upon a time, blank. Every day, blank. One day, everything changed when blank. Because of that, reason number one. Because of that, reason number two. Until finally, blank, the big conclusion. So these 6 sentences help paint a picture of what life was like before your product, what happened when someone discovered your product, and what life looked like after your product. So let me show you it in motion with our first case study, the Brampton Innovation District. So for those of you who don't know, about 1.5 years ago now, we opened up the Brampton Entrepreneur Center in downtown Brampton. And before that, we never really had any big open space for not just co-working, but for events, for mentors, for investors, for accelerators to come in, and for entrepreneurs to just sit there and build all day. So when we built that, things started getting in motion, and that's evolved into the Branch Innovation District today. Let me give you an example of what the Pixar pitch looks like in action with the Innovation District. So once upon a time, entrepreneurs in Brampton had no resources or very little resources to build their business in the city. Every day, entrepreneurs like myself and probably a lot of you would leave the city and go to Toronto to work on the startups. One day though, everything changed when Brampton built the Innovation District. Because of that, entrepreneurs could stay in Brampton and build their startups. Because of that, entrepreneurs in Brampton became successful without having to go to Toronto. Until finally, Brampton became a city full of unicorn founders who all exited their companies. So this innovation district, what it looks like now is we have the we have the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, we have angel investors, we have the Rick Center for people who are building IoT startups or electronic startups to raise funding and work with people to scale their manufacturing. We have the broader cybersecurity catalyst. Now that we have all that, because of that statement, now we're helping entrepreneurs actually build a company in Brampton without having to go to a Toronto or to a Waterloo. Because we have angel investors now in the innovation district, people can scale the company, become a unicorn, $1 billion company, and exit their company. So this Pixar pitch helps, again, paint a picture of what life was like before your product, what life looked like when someone discovered your product, and what life looks like now after they've used your product. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you're all with me. Awesome. So every story has a hero, whether it's Avengers or the Avatar. In Avengers, you've got the Avengers, you've got Iron Man, you've got Hulk, you've got the whole team. In Avatar, you've got Aang. They all have a story. They all have an arc that they're following. There's a journey that they're on. And in your story, in your Pixar pitch, your user is your story. So again, you're painting a picture of this one person. Let's say this person's name is Nikita. Nikita's going about her day. She's a hero of her story, and she's stumbling through problems. Your product is the catalyst that they need to change their life. So for example, in the Avengers, the catalyst there was in Endgame. The catalyst there was the Infinity Stones, the Infinity Gauntlet. When the Avengers got that, when Thanos got that, that changed the entire arc of the story. In Avatar, the catalyst was when Aang found out that he was the Avatar. That changed the whole direction of the story, right? So these pieces are what your product is in the entire story. It's good to know what the before and after of your kind of user is, but understand what happens in the middle. What does your product do that takes them from that before and after? There's got to be a transformative effect that takes place to take your user from how they're feeling now, the problem, to their solution. So though that kind of structure, the Pixar pitch with the hero's journey, should paint 3 steps for you to follow when you're using your pitch. Number 1, what is the problem, the before state? Who are you solving it for? Your user, your hero. And how are you solving it? What is that catalyst? Now, some common mistakes that I see when people are pitching is that they try to solve a lot of things all at once. They try to build this massive product that looks to solve world hunger, eradicate cancer. And although those are great ambitions, that's awesome to have, it kind of takes your pitch and makes it really thin. And when your pitch is super thin, it becomes really easy for me as a judge to poke more holes in it. Because I can say things like, if you're trying to solve this and using the XYZ technologies, aren't you opening up holes for that? How are you going to focus on this, that, and this when you're all over the place? Not having a defined focus distracts judges and you from your problem. It makes us question if you can really do everything that you're doing. And another question you don't want to receive from a judge, I remember when I competed in Startup Weekend in 2017, I heard one of the judges ask another competitor, what does your product do? What is it? And that's a question that no competitor wants to hear. You want to make sure that your product is very, very clear to all the judges who are listening. If you get a question around what your product is, you've done a poor job of communicating what that is. So a good way to show what that is to, again, to have that story and to show what are the impacts of your solution. And of course, finally, be hard on yourself and anticipate questions. Before you go in and pitch, before you submit your pitch deck or your video, ask yourself, what might a judge want to know, right? What are some holes in my pitch? What are some plot holes in my story that I need to patch up before I send it off? It's annoying sometimes, but you've got to play devil's advocate, because what's worse than you missing something is someone else catching it without you noticing it. So you want to make sure that you anticipate questions before they come up. So we covered a lot there. So I'm going to go through some of the chat now and see if there's any questions that anyone had. All right, Jared asked to go back to slide 1. Let me take that there. Was there a specific slide? Because it's slide 1. Yep. So you can make a fake person. Let me show you another example, actually. So another case study is this one here. Cool. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen here. Awesome. So in 2017, I competed in Startup Weekend Peel, and that's kind of how I got introduced to the city and all that. And we were one of the winners. And we built this product called Maya. In a nutshell, Maya was this chatbot kind of personal assistant that would help you reschedule your day as you went through it. It was for very ambitious workers, founders, and really busy executives. And to illustrate how Maya would help them, we painted the story of Oscar. So Oscar was this ambitious guy, new to the workforce, but he was super talented. He knew he wanted to go high in his company. But he found it difficult to balance a job and all the ambitions he had in his company with a personal life. He wanted to have friends, he wanted to go out on the weekends, but he still wanted to clock into his 9 to 5 and do a great job. So we painted this picture of Oscar and we followed the story of him as he used it. So we started here with the problem, right? Oscar is super busy and he wants to do a better job of balancing his personal life and his job. Our catalyst was Maya. And then we showed how Maya worked. So this is a GIF and it would play if I was presenting, but it showed how Maya worked. So Maya would be integrated with his calendar and ask him, hey, Oscar, you missed doing this task. Why did you miss it? Do you want me to reschedule it for you? And the problem solving is that in our research, we found that a lot of people who had busy calendars didn't make time to go back and reschedule things that they missed. Either they would just kind of make a mental note of it and get to it later, hopefully, or they would just reschedule it for next week. And doing that creates a lot of cognitive load and it would keep their head busy from focusing on the important tasks at hand. So we ran the judges through what life looks like with Maya in his hand. So here's a couple more screenshots of the app. Right? And then we kind of ended the story with who it's working for. So Oscar is one example of all the users we could serve, but these are the general kind of umbrella of people that we could target. And then of course, we did give stats at the end too. So we showed research around like who's using this and how do they currently like go about their day. So in that before, you want to show like what does the current context look like? So without Maya in Oscar's life, how do people set the calendar up right now? What do they do when they don't get things done? And at the end of the week, do they actually go back and do this thing? So with Maya, we had a hypothesis. And through our research, we use that data to back up our hypothesis and show judges like, yo, this isn't something that we just thought like is a thing that happens. It wasn't just like a saying, but it was backed up by data. We've talked to people who fit this demographic and this is what they do. So, and then we ended off with testimonials, right? So this social proof, again, is very strong to the judges and shows them like, not only did you do the research, but you actually went and showed customers or you talked about it with people and there's an interest in this, right? So, hold on, let me go back to this one here. So doing that helps you illustrate that story very, very well. And judges know exactly what's going to be mentioned, who you're doing it for, and why. So let me just go back to the end here. If there's any more questions, drop it in the chat. So that was a lot that we covered there. And 3 points that I want you to walk away with, if you implement into your pitch, I'll give you a good mark and you'll definitely kill it as well. Is number one, you want to tell a story around your product. You don't want to have just a bullet list of features and advantages and benefits. When you do that, it makes it very easy to compare your list of features to another competitor's list of features too. Paint a story of the user case and who's going through it and how they're using it and what the before and after state looks like. With that, you want to also outline the problem very clearly. That helps you position the solution way better than just saying that we're going to do this for so-and-so. And of course, finally, customers and how you serve them. Be very specific, like how we did with Oscar, the age and demographic of who you're serving and why they needed the best. So the key resources and partners. So with that, I think it's going to be something around like what sort of resources do you need to get started? What sort of things are you going to implement into your solution? What are you going to integrate into there? Are you going to pull on things like the deck? Are you going to pull on resources like the APIs to make your product work? And partners would be anyone who's going to help you kind of get your product to market or reach your target audience. So for example, if you're building something in the mental health space, you might want to partner with CAMH, for example, to help reach those sort of people. Does that answer your question? Awesome. So this is how you give pitches without being boring and telling a much more engaging story to help people pull it in. So the financial analysis question, if everyone can see it, Benal asked, how detailed of a financial analysis should we do? When we competed in Startup Weekend, that was actually one of the mistakes that we made, because my teammate, Aldi, and I, we spent a lot of time doing tons of Excel formulas, and we had like 3 different sheets of different revenue models. And we were happy that we did it, because if someone asked, we could pull it up, but it didn't matter that much beyond just how much we would sell it at and what our profit margin was too. So I wouldn't say don't make it too detailed, but just be able to answer the basic questions around how much you're going to sell it for, how many users do you need, and what's your profit. Very simple, high level. I wouldn't go for a too detailed financial analysis, because we know too, like when you're starting out, like it's very arbitrary still. Like you're gonna put up a bunch of imaginary numbers for the most part, which are just targets. But unless you have been running this for like a year or so, you don't have any benchmarks yet. So I would say keep it high level, and don't worry about being too in the grains. I wouldn't care about that. Good question. Open to any other questions? Neha, did you have any questions? Any tips for hooks or starts to presentation? Yeah, you definitely want to be engaging from the start. And something that I've learned from TikTok is that you want to be loud and clear right away about what you're doing, right? The best TikToks that I've seen have a very clear hook, in that it's usually like a one line or one blurb that tells you who they're talking to. So for example, one of the TikToks for me that went viral, it's at like 80+K views right now. It started off with a huge thing in the middle that said WordPress is old. And it targeted WordPress users. It made them feel old and kind of piqued their interest too. Like, if WordPress is old, then what's new? So you want to start off with something that's not like explicitly saying like this is for so-and-so, but something that implies like this is the person we're talking about, this is a solution that they have, and what kind of link is there to keep them going? What's that peak that you want to take them on and pull them through? And to start, you want to keep it focused on one person as well, right? If you have in your group, you want to pick one person to present. You want to pick one person who's going to be talking to the camera and making sure that they're kind of the main narrator throughout the story. What accelerators are available in Brampton? So accelerator wise, so if you've heard of the DMZ from Ryerson in downtown Toronto, they are the world's #1 campus linked accelerator, which means that they're the #1 accelerator that's tied to a university. So we actually just closed a deal with them a few weeks ago to bring a Brampton chapter into the city. So we're going to have a DMZ in Brampton. And if you know anything about the DMZ, you know that they've helped to raise hundreds of millions in funding for the companies. They've done a ton of successful exits too. So that's coming soon to downtown Brampton. Any more questions? Are you connected to Our Wave Hub? Our Wave Hub is Brampton born. So we've helped them get started. They collaborate with Spark as well every now and then too. So I'm kind of like a arm's reach advisor. I don't work for them anymore. They used to be a past client of DXM, but I still advise them on marketing and then programming every now and then. Our Wave's cool too. You guys should definitely check them out, ourwavehub.com. They have a program running right now for emerging technologies. So check that bootcamp out too. How long do you think? Good question. I'm glad you asked this. So for me as a judge, I'll ask some questions around your plans to actually build it out, and what stack you're going to use and what tech you're going to use, timelines and all that. But again, I'm only going to ask those questions as just a base for me, because the stack you use is going to evolve a lot as you build out your product, hopefully beyond the hackathon. So I'm not going to ask too many questions about that, because that can change. And you can build things with one technology they can do with another, different languages. It doesn't matter that much at a broad scale. So I won't. So in your pitch, spend a little bit of time talking about how you're building it, but spend more time talking about the problem solution and how you fit in there too. And that's more important to me as a judge, because that shows me you're thinking, right? Because look, you can write the most poetic code, the cleanest, semantic, well-commented code ever, but that doesn't matter if you build something that nobody needs. Does a hackathon have to have code? This is a question that someone sent in. No, it doesn't. I think a hackathon in its essence is building a solution to a problem. You don't need to learn how to code. You don't need to code at all to win a hackathon. Like for Startup Weekend, for example, we didn't code anything. We built a visual prototype in, I think we used InVision or Marvel. It was a design software to mock up the app. We linked it up so you could actually it kind of showed like what it looked like if you click this button and went to the next page, how you would interact with it. And we turned that into a GIF, which you can do very easily. And we put that into our presentation. So we had no code at all, but we just used these no code tools, these design tools, to illustrate what it looks like if someone goes through your product. I actually did a video on this on my YouTube channel, the Search Style Alum. It's my most recent video, and I talk exactly about this, how you can build an MVP without having to code at all. So just because you're in a hackathon, don't feel like that means you have to code. There's a lot of people in here that they're going to build really cool things without writing a single line of code. I hope that answers this question. You're welcome. All right, guys. Do you guys want to get back to hacking, or do you have any more questions? I'm here. Let me know. Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, my info is back up on the screen. Wait, one more question. Are there funding resources currently available in Brampton? Yes, there are. So it depends on what kind of funding you're looking for. We are working on getting seed funding right now with Founders Institute. There's also the DMZ, as I mentioned before, they're going to have funding coming in as well. We have angel investors who focus more on companies that have gotten some sort of validation. So backing from an accelerator, for example. So we have funding like that. If you're in high school, actually, we have the summer company funding as well through the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, which you can find on the Brampton Entrepreneur Center website. So those are available for anyone starting up a company. It's like a few $1,000s as well. So there's tons of different options right now for people who are at different levels. Tons of funding out there. What advice do I have for your pitches? Is the DMZ always open for applications? I don't think it's open just yet, but it will be. Keep your eyes peeled on our Slack channel if you're in there. Let me drop a link to there. Give me 1 second. Grab it here. So this link that I'm putting in the chat right now, so that is a link to our Brampton City Slack channel. So join it if you're not a part of it already. We have all of our funding opportunities, all of our events, anything that's going on in the city, in the innovation district, that's all always dropped in there. So keep an eye out on there. And when applications become open, it'll definitely be in there first. What advice do I have for your pitches? I mean, this whole workshop is about pitches, but you want to keep your pitch exciting and centered around a story, right? You don't want to start with a list of what your product does and the advantages and benefits of it. You want to focus on the story, right? So I think Mehak I'll send a link to this presentation after I'm done here. So you guys will have all that here. Can we make yes, do a skit, that'd be sick, right? Because I mean, think about it, the skit at the end of the day is still telling a story. If you're doing a skit around like, here's Astawa, he sucks at doing this. Suddenly he got her app and he's so great at this. Now because he's great at that, he can do all these amazing things and he's the best person ever, right? Whatever it is, like that's creative. Hashtag creative. And one of the other questions about being engaging and a hook is like that. Because look, when I'm watching the videos tomorrow, when I'm judging, I'm gonna watch a ton of them from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm gonna be like mad bored if the pictures are boring. But if you come in with a skit and you make me laugh and you give me attention, even if your product sucks, I'm more likely to rate you higher because you did something engaging, interesting. This is a good question. Logan asks, what is a good way to close out a pitch? A good way to close out a pitch is to do a recap of what you talked about. So you don't want to go through the whole story again, but you want to do a quick one-liner of actually a really good way. Let me go back to the Pixar pitch here. So I want to make a note of this here and say that you shouldn't use this verbatim. If I see a pitch that says exactly word for word, once upon a time, blank, every day, blank, I'm going to be disengaged because I know the formula, right? This formula is only an outline. So if, for example, when you're writing an essay, you start with your topic sentence for each paragraph, and then you have your three kind of evidence points underneath that for each paragraph. Think of the Pixar pitch structure as that. It's going to kind of be guidance for your pitch. It should be the bones, but it shouldn't be the meat of your pitch. So when you close out your pitch, when you're doing a recap, this is great to do a recap. So for example, if I was pitching the innovation district, I will close off by saying something around the lines of, before the Brampton Innovation District, entrepreneurs of Brampton had to leave the city and go to Toronto or Waterloo to build a startup. Now that we have the Innovation District here, we have resources like angel funding, we have business consultants, we have the Rick Center, and all these resources help entrepreneurs build businesses in Brampton. As a result, we now have X million dollars of revenue that are of funding that's raised for these startups, and we've had 2 people go on to exit and become billionaires. Hasn't happened yet, but that sort of structure kind of helps recap that story as well, right? Again, it paints the before, the catalyst, your product and what it did, and the after. I hope that helps answer your question. Jamil asks, do you think it is better to have a more specific problem and a detailed solution than a general solution to the theme of mental health? Great question. So this is one of the things that I mentioned at the end here too. So solving world hunger. One of the problems that we ran into in Startup Weekend back in 2017 is that with Maya, we try to do a lot of things. And when we were working with mentors, you might have noticed this as well. When you're going through workshops and you're meeting with mentors, you tell them about your product, they also have their own ideas and they pitch all your ideas. And because it's coming from a mentor, you feel like it's really good and you should include it. We did that same thing too. And the night before our pitch, we realized we went from this one small problem to 101 solutions now. And doing that, trying to include all that, makes your pitch really long, makes your pitch boring, and spreads your pitch thin. When you have a really thin pitch, it becomes a lot easier to poke holes in, right? So if you focus on one problem, focus on solving that really well, it's much stronger. But don't throw those other solutions away. Hold on to those and put them in slides after your thank you slide, or you're doing a video, right? So, but if you have slides in your video, you could hold on to that for later. But in your video, you might have like maybe 30 seconds at the end or a minute at the end where you talk about, here are some other things we plan on doing in the future. For me as a judge, it's really comforting to know that you're not just building a product for the hackathon, because I want to see things that go on to be bigger than just Spark from Home. I want to see you work on this next week, next month, maybe next year too. I want to see you work on this in Innovation District. So if you show me a plan, a roadmap of how you plan to build this product out, that's a great way to include these future solutions that you do want to build. And it shows me how committed you are to building this thing out. So definitely focus on one problem in your pitch, but hold on to that and put it like after your main part of your pitch. Mental health is interesting too, because mental health, again, is so broad, right? And affects so many types of people, but it's also an opportunity because it affects a wide range of people. There's a lot of different niches in mental health, right? You can tackle different symptoms. You can tackle different types of people. You can tackle different delivery modes in mental health as well. So you can be very specific in this broad umbrella of mental health. I hope that helps answer your question. So yeah, be specific. Awesome. Any other questions? I'm liking these questions. These are good. How are you guys feeling for tomorrow? Anyone worried? Any like pre-jitters for recording your video? I remember, so fun fact, even though you guys like see this face like being all loud and animated right now, before I pitched at Startup Weekend, I actually like broke down and like had like I freaked out, I panicked. I was super nervous, and I think part of that too came from like me trying to stay to a script. So a piece of advice that I would have for you recording your videos is that don't try to script every single word. Again, have like a general outline and trust yourself to find the words. Have confidence in what you're saying, know that you'll say the right thing, and because it's a video, you have tons of do-overs too. So take your time, breathe easy, talk to the camera like you're talking to a friend, and smile. It honestly helps too. Jamel's got a question in there about asking questions. I think that's a question for Mehak and Komal.
Yeah, so just to answer, I think Como also answered the question a bit, but unfortunately, because of our virtual setting, you won't be able to ask any questions or you won't be able to give any answers to the judges, but you can submit any other content along with your video that may be looked at in case of any ties. So make sure you do that as well. So if you have any presentations, links to apps or social media, reports, as you said, anything like that, feel free to link it in your dev post along with the video. It may or may not be looked at, so just so you know.
Also, teams will be sent out written feedback that judges will be giving to them.
If you do have questions that you do want to ask me later on, my information is up on the screen. You can reach out to me on any of these platforms. You can DM me. You can also shoot me an email and ask about your product too. So if you do want to learn more about the Brampton Innovation District or what I do and how we can work together, how Brampton can help you grow, or just questions about like why I graded you so badly, you can hit me up on email or any of these social platforms too. And if you got a second, definitely check out astala.ca. Check out my YouTube channel. Got some resources there to help you guys grow too. So I'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for listening. If your friends didn't attend, I want you to go back in the Discord and act like this is the greatest workshop ever and they missed out on all the keys. Say something like I gave you guys like the secret formula to like an amazing video, and that everyone who went to my thing is going to get an automatic A+. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Komal and Mehak, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Astala, for running this workshop. It's always a pleasure to have you be a part of Spark. Just like Astala said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave it on Discord as well. Maybe if Astala has some time, he can answer them, or any of our executives can as well. Just a reminder that all pitches and all videos and any other research are due at 11:59 tonight. So make sure you get everything in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to mentors. This workshop will be recorded and posted on YouTube. So in the next 30 minutes, if you want to go back, look at the slideshows, or feel like you missed anything, feel free to go onto our YouTube channel, have a look there. But thank you so much, Astala, for doing this. It's always an honor to have you. Definitely so awesome to have you as a judge as well. We've seen so much like positive feedback and the involvement with the city of Brampton. And hopefully that will continue for the next few years.
Yeah, super excited. And I'm excited to see what everyone hacks this year too. So thanks again so much for having me, and we'll stay in touch.